How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Americarnivore. This is a comic book sequel to the 2003 remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was put out by WildStorm Comics and originally published as issues 1 through 6 of their series. And it makes up the entirety of Book One, if you have the trade paperbacks. Now, I will say, if you guys go back and watch my review for the remake of Chainsaw, needless to say, I'm a much bigger fan of the original film, but I honestly think I like the comic book sequel more than I did the remake. Where the remake came off as just really mean-spirited, the comic comes off as more of dark humor, and part of that is just it being a comic book with cool and big and expressive art, and I really did like where this goes. It has some really big, over-the-top moments, and a fair bit of gore and insanity. Yeah, I will say the plot on this one is a little light. Basically, it's about 1 year after the original murders. The Hewitt family is in hiding, and we get FBI guys and a news crew going in to investigate, and needless to say, all the characters are put in a big pressure cooker, and when it explodes, boy does it explode. We get some really cool moments in here, and we also get a fair bit with Leatherface's family. The surviving family members from the movie are gonna pop back up here in the comic, and we're gonna get some good mileage out of them. Plus, we get the head Slaughterman, a new chainsaw villain for this series, who works at the meatpacking plant and actually has his own chainsaw. So a cool, unique family member for this comic, and I really did like going through all the Chainsaw sequels and seeing all the cool and unique family members that might just pop up for one movie, and the head Slaughterman, he's really cool. Now, I will say, because we are balancing such a big family, I wish we got a little bit more of Leatherface himself, but that being said, he is in here enough. I just kind of wish we got a few more pages with him, but we do have to balance all these characters. But a really interesting thing from this comic that I think is worth pointing out is it actually does have a few little parallels to the original Texas Chainsaw 2. For example, one of our characters is a reporter, and one of the FBI guys is actually a relative of one of the people from the first movie, kind of like Dennis Hopper. We do also get some underground tunnels in here, kind of like the underground tunnels from Texas Battleland. So I think having those parallels is kind of fun. It's not a direct remake of 2, but throwing in a few nods, that's a cool idea. So overall, this comic was really fun. I really did enjoy reading it, and I did like the idea of, this is Texas Chainsaw Massacre as a comic book. You know what kind of insane, over-the-top energy that can bring, and it really does deliver. I guess if you guys want to see more, I'm going to switch to the close-up camera. I'll show you guys some of the story and some of the art and do a bit of analysis, but no major spoilers. But without further ado, let's switch to the close-up camera. Alright, here we are inside the castle, taking a closer look at the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Americarnivore. Right off the bat, a pretty fun cover, a nice painterly version of Leatherface, and if we flip it to the back, we get to see this guy eating what I'm sure is just a perfectly normal sandwich. A bit of a summary, and we get to see that it is indeed a sequel to the 2003 remake, the WildStorm logo, and the original price of this was $14.99. Cracking it open, nice inner cover there. And then we get to see, written by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning, with art by Wes Craig, who I know for Deadly Class, cool to see him here. And if we flip to the copyright information down at the bottom, we get to see that it was originally Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 through 6. And there is a little bit of a bonus feature in the back, a cover gallery with some sketch pages. That's pretty cool. Always good to see a few extra pages. And anyway, it's not until right before the story that we get to see the Americarnivore title pop up. So yeah, I kind of wish it was printed big on the front, or at least Book One was printed on the front, but it just says Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Anyway, after that we get into the story proper. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to take my moment, say a piece on a few plot points, show you guys some of the art, so I'll be avoiding the end bit, but let's dive in a little deeper. We open up with this truck running down the road all crazily, and we get to see it's got a mad driver behind it. The police are chasing it, and when they finally catch this guy, they open the back of the truck, and this one cop is horrified at all the crazy things he's seen, including a guy without a face. Wonder what happened to that face? Well, that's of course where we get to see our first appearance of Leatherface, bursting his way out of this trailer and taking care of those cops, and these two are going to be continuing their run from the law. Speaking of the law, that's where we get these two agents. They're FBI guys named Hooper, a reference to the original movie's director. One of the other ones that pops up later is actually Hinkle, the writer. And we also get this guy who's Baines, who's his partner, and we'll find out more about him in a minute. But basically they say that it's been about a year since the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They've not managed to arrest any more of the family, and the girl from the first movie is currently recovering in an asylum, so she's not here, which is very similar to what they said happened to Sally in Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. They go to this gas station, which is where the sheriff had set up shop, and we get to see them playing the end bit of the movie on their screen there. They explore the basement, and in the basement they find a murder board full of clips from the local newspaper, and later on we'll uncover why Baines cares so much about this case. It turns out that one of the girls from the first movie that died, Pepper, was actually his niece, and he pulled some strings to get on this case for some revenge. And yeah, speaking of revenge, he has brought a lot of guns along. They explore the basement of the sheriff's place, and when this one guy tries to open a hatch, he winds up falling through the floor. And it turns out there are tunnels full of dead bodies that are going to be connecting key locations like the Hewitt house and the gas station and the meat packing plant. So yeah, tunnels under the city, also a little bit like the tunnels from Texas Battleland in Chapter 2. So a cool way to kind of reinvent it. But of course, Baines, wanting some sweet revenge, jumps down into the tunnels, and he gets ready to go with his shotgun. So yeah, these cops are going to be exploring the tunnels, running into some crazy stuff, and getting into some cool battles. But it's of course not just the cops. We're going to have this team of reporters. They got to town kind of late, and they're looking at the meatpacking plant, and all they know is that this is where the girl escaped to at the end of the last event, and we're going to have this other girl be kind of nervous, but the reporter really wants to get the story. And I really do like when she starts telling her story, it's the narration from the original Chainsaw movie. But of course, it's too dark, the lighting's no good, and they say, let's investigate the building anyway. We can at least get some sound effects, which I think is probably a nod to the original movie soundtrack, using ambient slaughterhouse music. Anyway, of course, the one girl doesn't want to go in. She gets left alone to herself in the van, and that's where we see a creepy little kid pop up. But I'm sure she'll be safe. Anyway, the crew that decides to go in finds that the house is mainly empty, but not 100% empty, and we get this character, Hank, who is the slaughter man, who has his own chainsaw, so he's kind of like the new big family member for this issue, and he gets to delight on taking him through a tour of the sort of grosser elements of the slaughterhouse, and we get to see them wince, but he's doing this on purpose just to get to them. And he will say that On busy days, they'll stand so close to each other that they have to wear chainmail so they don't hurt each other. Keep that in mind in just a second. Well, they'll go back to the van and they'll find it empty, so that one girl is in fact gone. They decide to go back in and see if they can figure out what happened to her, and that's when the slaughter man jumps out and tases them, and they're going to awake in a very dangerous situation. See what I mean about that chainmail? So chainmail and a chainsaw? Yeah, the slaughter man's really cool. But of course, can our reporter escape, as the friend is getting everything that he heard happen to the meat earlier, so she's going to try to get out and see if she can become the main character. But what happened to the girl that was missing? Well, she's going to wake up in a very difficult spot. Nice shot of the eyes there. And as she kind of goes in and out of consciousness, she'll get to see the family lurking about, and that includes Leatherface there getting a new arm, which I really do like his new arm. It's got real arm bones and a meat hook on the end of it. This would have been so cool to actually see in a movie. I kind of wish we did get to see that. Not that the remake universe was the best continuity ever, but I would like to see more of hook-armed Leatherface. Anyway, from there, we get all the elements kind of spinning out of control. There's lots of moments with Leatherface's family, and a lot of them get their time to shine. You know, the little kid, Luda May, the tea lady, and that other girl. There's actually a super disturbing sequence with the tea lady in here, but I won't spoil that. But I do really like this is just a quick setup to get to moments of insanity. I didn't really spoil any of the kills, but let me just say there are some pretty brutal deaths in here. So overall, it is really, really fun, and just a good over-the-top Texas Chainsaw comic. I can definitely recommend it. It really keeps up the energy. It really keeps you guessing, well, the classic Chainsaw thing. Who will survive and what will be left of them? Overall, it is really fun. Definitely recommend it. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Texas Chainsaw Massacre playlist, where you can see me talk a bit about the movies. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.